Hello, Rabbi. How are you doing today?
Doing great this morning, Joe.
How are they biting? I've often said in my life there are a couple things that I wish I would do more. Uh, and I once met a man who gave up everything to just sit on the beach and fish all day and live off of what he caught and sell the extras for rum. This was in the islands, of course. And I thought to myself, that wouldn't be so bad, but I don't think I could ever do it because I'd be too afraid that something would go wrong and I'd be lying there, an old man, surrounded by lots of fish skeletons and empty bottles and wondering what I'd done with my life. Do you think that's a legitimate fear? Should we let fear keep us from doing crazy things or?
I think that's really a neat question because often fear incapacitates us and then it leads to regrets later on. I think we need to take a middle approach. In scripture, we see the word fear all the time. And there are several different words for fear in Hebrew. Unfortunately, in our translations, the words are always translated as fear, but the words are different. Most often, when used in scripture, fear means healthy respect. So you should fear the Lord your God, not like a lion, tiger, or bear, but rather healthy respect. Fear of the sea, healthy respect because what it could do to us. Fear of living on the beach and not having health care, not having access to a good diet. A healthy respect for our choices. So let's start with the word fear. And we have to stop and say, is my fear a healthy respect? Or is it really a scary knee-jerk reaction to the unknown, to something I haven't done, or something that just scares me because it's different? So that's where our discussion begins, Joe, with the fear. And then, is it something we can train, we can deal with? And is it keeping us from doing something that we're going to regret later on in life?
Well, I have a large collection of fishing rods and lures and all kinds of hooks and stuff waiting for that day when I get out on the beach. But to make it be even more about me, because as we know, I count a lot in this conversation. I have many other cartoonist friends who dedicated themselves to being cartoonists from the start. They lived in their parents' basements. They ate tomatoes and boiled spaghetti and macaroni while they got their beginnings, and they became world-class cartoonists. Whereas I sort of took the safer, I could say I blame it on my parents because they wanted me to move out, but also because I was afraid that I might not succeed right away. So I took a day job, as we call it, and did that. And I still regret, did I do the right thing? Did my fear of not having a steady income keep me from becoming a more successful cartoonist?
Well, I think there's really a difference between having a regret and stopping and looking at some of the choices we made. For as many people, actually more, lived in their parents' basement, ate ramen noodles and tomatoes, and are now 55 and 60 years old, living in their parents' basements, eating ramen noodles and tomatoes. They didn't become successful cartoonists. They didn't become great programmers. They didn't develop a new video game. So we don't want to look at other people and use them as an example to feed our regrets or to say, look, if I had done, there's a combination of things in the world, Joe. There's luck, there's being at the wrong place at the wrong time, there's skills, there's walking into an office, they need someone and you show up. A lot of this is something we have no control over. And so often we do what you just did. We look at people and compare ourselves. So let's stop the comparisons and let's look at our own lives and let's see what's realistic. You want to go fishing, go fishing. I have heard over my lifetime many regrets on the deathbed, many regrets in with terminal cancer, with the end of life issues. And they're all very simple regrets. I could have had a bass boat. We could have gone to the beach more often. There's very simple. There are things we could have done, but we were afraid to do it. Those are the things we want to focus on, not the big grand that sometimes require a reasonable discussion. What you did was very reasonable. You looked at yourself and you said, that's not my life. That I won't feel comfortable doing that. I'm going to get a day job. So what you did fit with you. Not going fishing, however, is something you can find time to do. If you don't want to have a regret of many people I know who talk to me about simple, easy things, and yet, well, I have my work, I have my family, what will the boss say? I can't take a day off, and et cetera, et cetera. And the reality is in moderation. And there's something that leads to something else I've noticed. Individuals who made a business or career out of a hobby were very unhappy and miserable. What makes some things neat and interesting is they're a hobby. But when your job depends on putting food on the table, on paying the mortgage, on paying the payments on your 15-year-old Yugo, when you realize that, it's not fun anymore. So we want to be careful about not making a hobby into a business based on this, oh, I'll regret if I don't do whatever it is my life career. So it's about balance, Joe. We don't want to have regrets. We don't want to let our fears dictate what we're doing, what we're not doing. And we want to be realistic. What are my obligations? How do I feel about myself? How do I identify? What's my definition of myself? And how much of this fear is real and how much is not so much imagined, but overblown? You know, Joe, many of us have fear of success and fear of failure. And that's the ultimate incapacitator and leads to the ultimate regrets. We're afraid of doing a good job because we'll be asked to continue to do a good job. Then we're afraid of failing because who wants to fail? And so that's the ultimate fear that leads to the ultimate regrets. Then we don't do anything. And when we look back at our lives and, you know, I could have, you know, I should have, I would have, but, you know, I was afraid of what my mother would say. I was afraid of what my wife would say. Oh, my in-laws, even my own mother is so critical. I'm so afraid of these externals. We need to sit down. Let's examine our fears. What am I afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? And when you look at it, being homeless on a beach without medical insurance is a pretty good reason not to do some things. However, to go fishing, to take some time off, to get a condo on the shore and do some things, where is the downside? Benefits versus burdens is what we want to do. But I'll tell you, the fear and what I've heard, the regrets are most of the time really simple and easy and could have been not regretted.
Well, one thing I never regret, Rabbi, is the time I spend with you. So thank you very much for that. And I look forward to the next time we can sit and chat and maybe hopefully drop a line in the water.
Not hopefully, Joe. Spring is coming. Let me know whenever you want to go. I'll go fishing with you.